He has 3 older brothers. So when we went to the hospital, it was, really no big deal. It was just kind of something we were used to, not a big deal at all. It was almost routine. And I think it was the second day, there was an overnight nurse that thought she heard a murmur. And so the next day, our doctor checked it out. He thought he heard it, but he didn't think it was a big deal. Later on, he listened to it a little more and thought, well, this is a little louder, maybe we should check it out. And the whole time, we're really not thinking much of it. And, maybe worst case scenario, we're thinking, oh, a lot of babies have a few issues. We didn't really know much about any of this stuff. Long story short, by the last day, the cardiologist, Dr. Najdawi, which we just love, he came and listened to him. They did an echocardiogram, and it turned out he had a pulmonary stenosis, which might as well have been in Japanese. I didn't know what it was. I knew it was something to do with the heart because it was a cardiologist, but very scary. So at that point, we went from really being happy to being just kind of numb and didn't know what was going on, what to do, how bad it was, any of it. Because we could tell, Dr. Najdawi is a very comforting doctor, but we could also sense that it wasn't right. Something wasn't quite right. He was 2 months old. We went down to Children's Hospital, and we had his surgery performed. His heart valve was 86% blocked before the surgery, which we weren't really fully aware of that. We knew it was pretty blocked, but when we heard 86% and pulmonary, from his lungs, because, we didn't know what any of this stuff was, scared to death, just absolutely scared to death. And luckily our ministers were down there with us, cracking jokes the whole time, as weird as that sounds, and kept us somewhat distracted, and very long 45 minutes. And when we found out, or when I heard from the doctor, he told me that the surgery was moderately successful because they were able to open it partially, but not all the way. And he was afraid of damaging Thomas's heart valve more, so they had to stop. And they were hoping that as he grew, he would be stronger and they would be able to use a bigger balloon and hopefully not damage the heart valve. And during all that, they were also talking about research and how all these things are developing. They were talking about how they're doing heart valve replacements the same way they did the balloon surgery. All these things, and a lot of it was almost like, let's let them get healthier and bigger and just wait for this research that's coming. So we were hopeful. We brought him home. We watched him constantly. Introduced him, pretty much, we have all boys too, so by the 4th boy, you just pretty much introduce them to their brothers and say, there you go, have at it, don't eat all the food. And when Thomas went home, the kids played with them, we were all a little bit cautious, and we just kind of played it by ear. We pray a lot, and he's done really well. We have echocardiograms every year. The last one we had with Dr. Najdawi, he said he was a miracle.
When we went to the appointment, you always kind of like, a little part of you thinks, okay, this is where they could tell us bad news. And when he said that, we kept like looking at the monitor, even though really you don't really understand it. Like, wow, it's really opened on its own as he's grown. And so we left there ecstatic, really.
He said that he's healing himself, that his heart valve's almost fully open. So we're still going to watch it, but it was definitely good news. It was definitely positive news, and we don't have to worry about it as much. Since we've been with the Heart Association and all this, people always want to talk to us about it. I don't remember a lot of it. We really were numb and blurry and all that. And when we come out of all that, we started seeing that there was all this help, all this research. We had a gal come and work with him and make sure he was developing correctly, and all these things we had no idea. And all this help and research was there that we found out about. And so it lit a fire under us, and we wanted to let other people know that helps there. And it's just doing wonderful things, and how grateful we are for it.
typical 3-year-old, like Spider-Man, Ninja Turtles, Paw Patrol.
Hot Wheels.
You know, runs around, hops, dances.
He rules the boys.
When he was born, he had his normal checkup. The doctor decided in the checkup they found a heart murmur. They decided to keep him an extra day in the hospital to see what was going on. And they found out he had VSD, which in simple terms, it's a hole in his heart. And because of the hole in his heart, he was gonna require surgery. They checked on him just about every other couple months and just to see how it was going. Surgery was first needed at 6 months, but they decided since he was doing so good, he was growing healthy and everything, they would put it off until he was 1. Shortly after he was 1, he was taken to the Children's Hospital and he had open heart surgery. Lasted about 3 to 4 hours, which was shorter than what we had expected, so it was good. And then he was in the hospital for a total of 6 days. And he was good to go home because they couldn't keep him tied down to the bed. He was pulling everything out. He was pulling all the IVs out, and he wanted to get off and play. And now he's a healthy little boy who likes to run and play, and there's no stopping him. It's heartbreaking. It is really heartbreaking because, you know, they're so little, they're defenseless. They don't know what's going on whatsoever. And then when he's there, you know, he's in bed and you see him and he's in pain and there's nothing you can do. I am thankful. I mean, I don't know what it would be like if we didn't have research, you know, he probably wouldn't be where he is today. So I am very thankful for them.
Of 2006, I was attending a training session at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. And part of the training, there's physical fitness, and at that day we happened to be running a 5.2 mile race is what it was. And the 5.2 run, a lot of it was in the timber, and then when you finish the race, you come out at the track right at the Academy complex. And upon the completion of the race, I went into sudden cardiac arrest death. And I literally dropped dead. I was dead for 3 minutes. A lot of my classmates and friends that are all around the country gave me CPR. 3 of them gave me CPR and actually had an AED available, which was about 100 yards away. Inside the complex, brought it out, and they hit me with the paddles and brought me back. I don't remember anything happen. I don't remember dropping. I don't remember anything. We had just completed the race, and the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital in Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is just outside of Quantico. And Dr. Armitage, a very distinguished man, I'll never forget him. They evidently induced me in a coma. They said I was combative. I don't remember that, but they induced me in a coma, and I was out overnight for basically 24 hours. And he brought me out of the coma, and he was standing next to me when I woke up, and I asked him. I said, "Okay, what's happened?" Obviously, it's 9 o'clock. I know it's at least a day later. I thought I fell, hit my head, blew an ACL, did something like that. I felt fantastic, other than I was very hungry. And he goes, "How are you feeling?" I said, "I'm starving." I go, "Do you have anything to eat?" And he just started laughing. And he explained to me what happened at that time. And I said, "There's no way. That doesn't happen to me." I was in the best shape of my life, running a lot, lifting a lot. I said, "No way. That doesn't happen to me. That happens to other people." I said, "What's going on?" And he started to explain to it, and he kind of stopped halfway through and said, "Hey, do you want visitors?" I said, "Sure, I always love visitors." Well, in walked my family. My family was not supposed to be in Washington, D.C. at the time, so I knew something was up.
Leah was a freshman here at Morningside College, and our son was in high school at Sergeant Bluff School, and so we got them out of school. I was having lunch, was meeting Leah for lunch, our daughter, and we went immediately home and packed our bags and got on the first flight out.
What had happened is I had some blockage, and I actually ran myself to death is what it amounted to. And I had no symptoms, no high blood pressure, no high cholesterol. I had nothing. In fact, I felt great. but they said I needed open heart surgery. And it was immediate when he said that I needed open heart surgery that I knew I wanted to come back to Sioux City and have it done. There was no question in my mind. I was familiar with Dr. Allen. I was familiar with Mercy Hospital. Obviously, they're fantastic. I knew that. I had quadruple bypass surgery. I had open heart surgery. I feel fantastic. Yeah, the only time I ever felt bad on this whole thing is right after the surgery. It's a tough recovery. And the staff at Mercy Hospital is phenomenal. Dr. Allen did a great job. The rehab was phenomenal. I mean, it's unbelievable, the staff they have there. The care I had with the nurses, the critical care nurses, and coming out of the surgery is second to none. I could not have been in better hands. Then I went into, obviously, the cardio end of it and talked with Dr. Majerus, who's fantastic. I'm still working with Dr. Majerus. That'll probably be, as long as she's around and I'm around, that's probably going to be my doc. Yeah, I started literally at 3 months after the surgery. I started running again, jogging. At 6 months, I ran a 5K, and 1 year to the day I had surgery, I went back to the FBI Academy and ran a 10K. And a lot of my friends that were with me at the time, from all over the United States, we had 20-some fellow officers from around the United States that came back. We are blessed. I was blessed where this happened. Had it been 5 minutes earlier, there would have been nobody to give me CPR. There would have been no AED. The care in Sioux City, I was well aware of it, not thinking I would ever need it in my life, but I was well aware of Mercy's reputation, of Dr. Allen's reputation, and that made the decision very easy for me to come back to Sioux City. Part is difficult because it's painful, I mean, when you come out of the surgery, but other than that, no, it's wonderful. The care, I can't, and I don't know if I articulated it enough, it's unbelievable. I came back because of Mercy Hospital. I came back because of Dr. Allen. I came back because of Cardiovascular Associates, and I would do it again.